This is a flexion distraction table, and this traction table has been modified to deal specifically with scoliosis. And the modifications include these brackets on the side and these ratchets going through the center. Now what this table does without the ratchets, it just bends and it provides this traction to the lumbar or the thoracic spine. But when you add the ratchets to it, we can create some derotation. And the key thing is that it creates some unbending and derotation, which is you want on a scoliosis for a lumbar curve or for a thoracic curve. And with these two ratchet setups, we can actually create counter rotation on each area to provide the optimal correction that we want to achieve. Every setup is very unique for the person. And while they're set up, we can actually get this table and actually flex the table in different directions to get even a stronger reduction in that area. Every setup is very unique. So let's go ahead and show you some setups that we have for some of the most common scoliosis setups that we see. Here's one of our most common setups that we see for an S-curve. We have the patient sit up on the table. We are derotating and unbending the lumbar curve. We are derotating and unbending the thoracic curve. We have a counter strap and a counter strap to prevent any kind of translation. And then we're focusing on the lumbar curve by creating a bend. And this sets up and pre-stresses the scoliosis into a correct position. While in this position, we actually induce some traction, some motion when we turn the machine on, and that will help elongate the tissues and create traction in those areas while we're doing all of these motions at the exact same time. So very powerful unit. Let me go ahead and show you how the unit looks like when it's actually moving. So it actually will create some traction in this area to help improve the flexibility in this area. Okay. So you see while it's on, you can see it's actually elongating the spine, creating this cyclic type of movement and traction to this area to help improve flexibility and help improve the scoliosis that we see. This is our flexion distraction table, and this is a different setup more for a thoracic curve. And you see here, we're only using one strap instead of two straps that we were using in the lumbar curve. And here we're trying to push and derotate the thoracic curve. So this strap is actually derotating the spine at the exact same time that we're unbending it. This table will have two counter straps, one for the hips and one for the upper thoracic spine to create no further problems in that area. And then again, the table will move while it's in this position. If the patient actually has a counter lumbar curve as a primary thoracic curve, sometimes we'll bend it to actually reduce the lumbar curve in this area, so we create this unbending. Or sometimes we can actually bend it towards me to actually help increase the thoracic correction, depending on what we see. So let me go ahead and show you how this table works like when it's moving in the thoracic curve. So you see while it's moving, it's creating this traction effect. She's using her hands to resist that pull. And again, this is helping reduce and derotate the thoracic curve. Very, very good setup for a thoracic scoliosis. This is another variation of our flexion distraction table with traction. And here we're setting up for a lumbar curve. We have a primary lumbar push with derotation, two counter straps, one on the pelvis, one on the upper back to help stabilize those areas. And then we're bending the lumbar spine by moving her legs off to the left. This is a primary lumbar reduction. Now we can also do this setup slightly differently if we want to derotate the hips or do some other derotation, but this is our primary setup. Again, as the table moves, as you can see, when it moves, you can see it actually creates this traction and this movement in this area. And as she's resisting the traction with her arms, she can traction through the entire spine.